the craziest allegation yet. And I believe it. I'll tell you why in a second, but first, hello, my fam. It is Perez, the queen of all media, the original influencer. And this week I have been covering Kevin Federline's upcoming memoir, his tell-all, where he really tells all about his ex-wife and the mother of 2 of his 6 children. A quick recap. K-Fed alleges that Britney cheated on him with a female backup dancer, and he still went ahead and married her. The former backup dancer himself alleges that Britney called up Justin Timberlake the night before they were supposed to get married, and he still married her. K-Fed alleges that he's not releasing his tell-all for money, even though his child support payments have dried up. Britney's sons are both over the age of 19. Instead of telling all for money, he says he's doing this now because I wanted to make sure that my children were old enough to understand what I'm doing. Everything has always been about my family, and that's what people don't really realize, is that every step that I've taken has been for the benefit of my children, and my children are ready for me to tell my story. K-Fed also shares some of his children's stories, such as the allegation that Britney would watch her boys sleep while they were teenagers holding a knife, which understandably freaked the boys out when they realized what was going on after a couple of incidents. Or maybe more than a couple. He didn't specify how often that happened, if it really happened. But there have been other reports that Britney sleeps with a knife under her bed. Britney's sister, Jamie Lynn, has released her own memoir. Remember the allegation she made about knives there? Jamie Lynn alleged that Britney once locked herself in a bathroom with her 2 young sons with a knife because she felt scared. Britney denied that and publicly called her sister scum. K-Fed also went on to attack the Free Britney movement, to criticize her social media posts, even going so far as to allege that Britney not only used to abuse substances in the past, but he claims she still gets high. K-Fed said after Britney got freed from the conservatorship, her social media posts became more erratic. There were the infamous videos of her dancing with knives, cryptic rants, and wild behavior that was impossible to ignore. It didn't take a rehab counselor to see that she was high in many of those videos. K-Fed has also rang the alarm, saying that he and his sons are worried for Britney and concerned that something bad could happen. Britney saw that, and all the press, and the excerpts, and last night took to social media to accuse him of gaslighting, to say how hard it is to maintain a relationship with teenage boys, and she publicly attacked her kids. Britney said of her children, they have always witnessed the lack of respect shown by own father for me. They need to take responsibility for themselves, with one son only seeing me for 45 minutes in the past 5 years, and the other with only 4 visits in the past 5 years. I have pride too. From now on, I will let them know when I am available. In her memoir, Britney delved into her use of substances, denying speculation that she partied a lot, instead insisting that her substance of choice were Adderall, those pills. She claims she would party on Adderall. K-Fed, however, says it was much more than just that. K-Fed is now sharing every intimate detail about Britney, because that's what people care about, including his allegation that she continued to party hard after giving birth to their sons. The former backup dancer turned wannabe rapper, remember that? Alleges that the final straw for him was when he saw Britney doing cocoa, the white powder, snorting snow while breastfeeding. She was not done breastfeeding her children, and she fell in love with the cocoa, according to him. And you know what? I sure hope he is as honest about his own usage of substances as he is with her alleged usage. 'Cause, come on. We really think that back in the day, K-Fed was not partying hard too? And probably after his sons were born as well? You take us for fools? Us Weekly obtained another excerpt from the former dancer turned wannabe rapper. Remember Popo Zao? Federline recalls Spears showing up to a 2006 release party for his album Playing with Fire, despite having previously told him that she would be staying home with their two sons. Quote, "As we reached the top of the venue, Jamie Spears, Britney's dad, was standing there. I hadn't expected to see him, so I was happy he'd decided to come support me. He threw a look my way, shook his head, and motioned to my dressing room. His expression sat in that flat, blank space between disapproval and apprehension, as if to say, 'She's here, and it's not good.'" Federline remembers his security guard opening the door to find Britney sitting around a coffee table with her brother, Brian Spears, her agent, Jason Trawick, and an unnamed actress who was about to blow up from a role that would transform her life. Quote, "The first thing I saw was Britney and her young starlet friend snorting a fat line of C to the O to the K to the E off the table," Federline alleges. Both were wearing these outrageous wigs. Britney's was electric blue. It was surreal. They didn't even try to hide it. Federline writes that he was stunned Britney would use substances when she was still nursing Preston and Jaden, who were only 13 months and 1 month old at the time, respectively. K-Fed claims that he quietly confronted Britney later that night saying, quote, "Please don't go home and breastfeed the kids like this. Call your mom or someone. We need to get formula. You can't do this." In turn, Britney allegedly threw a cocktail in his face in front of guests and stormed out of the party. Quote, "That was the proverbial final straw, the breastfeeding thing, her reaction. That's what ended us." Federline says he immediately asked his lawyer, Mark Vincent Kaplan, to send Britney a legal letter demanding that she stop breastfeeding their children. Days later, Britney and her own attorney, Laura Wasser, drafted up divorce papers after 2 years of marriage. "It all happened so fast," K-Fed writes. "I couldn't even catch my breath." And K-Fed also alleges that Britney drank alcohol while pregnant. We'll get to that in a second, but first, I believe the cocoa allegations because he made a point of mentioning everybody in that room. Meaning, if Britney threatens or does sue him, there are witnesses who, according to him, saw her. And even though he's spilling all of these very dirty details in a new interview with Us Weekly, alongside this most recent excerpt, he says, money's not the root of this thing, his memoir. He says, I feel like if she has the right to tell her story, why don't I? Okay, fair. And the damning allegations begin when Britney was pregnant. K-Fed says in his new memoir, a silent alarm in his head was tripped for the first time when Britney started drinking while pregnant and on medication. Quote, that mix was dangerous. Effed up, honestly. He writes, you're not supposed to drink when you're on meds like that. A couple of glasses of wine for her would hit like a whole bottle because of the medication. K-Fed writes that he tried to make excuses for his then wife, acknowledging just how difficult and how much pressure life in the spotlight brought, and accepting that alcohol and medication were her coping mechanisms. And the drinking, according to K-Fed, continued while breastfeeding, as well as he says, I had seen it before, her drinking and breastfeeding, and it was really upsetting because of the danger to the kids. She could have pumped milk for Jaden, so her mom had that ready. And a lot more excerpts have come out today, highlights, lowlights from K-Fed's book, including that when he first started dating the international pop star, her own security team warned him to be careful and that he was on a sinking ship, which he said was the first real warning, which he ignored. He ignored all the warnings because she was really rich. K-Fed also details many other incidents that his sons with her relayed to him about her parenting when they were older, including one where Preston claimed that Britney punched him in the face. K-Fed writes also that Britney once bleached her children's hair down to the scalp, leaving them with burns, and that Preston once asked him when he was 10 or 11 why Britney kept forcing him to bathe with her. The boys recorded some incidents with Britney on their phones, including times that she verbally berated them and once woke up Jaden at midnight to put lotion on his face on a school night. He says that Spears also gave Jaden shellfish, knowing that he was allergic to it. In what K-Fed describes as another breaking point, Preston went to Europe with his girlfriend's family on vacation when he received a call from Spears, blaming Federline for everything. After Preston confronted her and called her out, Federline recalls, her response was chilling. She told him Man. K-Fed writes that Britney told her son, quote, she wished he, his brother, and me were all dead. We know she struggles with mental health issues. And that doesn't take away from the very real way that words like that make her children feel, even if they are intellectually able to understand that their mother is sick. Hearing the woman that birthed you say she wishes you and your brother and your father were not alive anymore, that's heavy. And I get it. I'm sure she doesn't wish she said that, whatever. Because of her illness, we cannot diminish their lived experience. And all of this definitely helps understand why Britney's boys have such a strained relationship with her. K-Fed says he could never really get behind the Free Britney movement, saying that when she was put in the conservatorship, he supported the decision because I believed it was the only way to stabilize her situation and, more importantly, provide a safer environment for our kids. With regards to the Free Britney movement that tried to get her out of that conservatorship, he says, I tried to understand where they were coming from, but I could never fully get behind it. At times, it felt more like a fandom's mob mentality than genuine concern for Britney's well-being. He theorizes that the judge who terminated the conservatorship in 2021 felt pressure from the Free Britney movement, which, quote, led the judge to ignore professional reports and cave to public opinion, especially with her own election on the line. I'm sure he probably thought that he could continue to get money from Britney for much longer if she continued in the conservatorship. K-Fed also talks in his book about dumping his pregnant fiancée, Shar Jackson, to be with Britney, because she was Britney Spears. And Shar was pregnant with their second child. K-Fed says that the night they first met at Joseph's was also the first time they did it. Quote, she slipped off her underwear and started kissing me, tearing at my clothes with both hands. They went on to spend 3 full days together. Sorry, Shar. And Kevin admitted he realized this wasn't a mere one-night stand, but a massive, life-altering change in existence. Just days later, K-Fed officially dumped Shar. And in a brand new interview with The Hollywood Reporter, K-Fed has even more to say. Everybody keeps asking him about, are you doing this for money? Why are you doing this? His latest answer, quote, my story's been told by everybody else through a different lens for 20 years, and I felt that it is time for me to tell my story. That's what it is, right? I wanted to wait. I waited until my kids were old enough and waited so I can gain a really good perspective and reflect. And now is the time, right? And that's what it is. This book is for my children's future. I was on board with everything until this book is for my children's future. And K-Fed says that his kids approve of this book, allegedly. The interviewer asks, the most disturbing sections all involve your children. They're how old now and how do they feel about the book? He responds, Jaden is 19, Preston is 20. I have 2 older ones as well with Shar Jackson. Caleb and Corey, who are 21 and 23. I have 2 that are still under 18 that I'm raising. My kids are 100% behind me telling my story, which is a big reason why I waited. They're 100% behind you. Maybe. I wanted to make sure that they fully understood why I was doing this and wanted to make sure that they were fully on board. K-Fed also says that he was caught off guard by Britney filing for divorce after he had his lawyer draft up that letter telling her to stop breastfeeding if she was going to be doing substances. He says that he found out about her divorce filing live on the air in Toronto on Much Music, and a producer told him. He says, though, I was taking a stand, but I didn't really think at that moment that it was going to be the end. He didn't want it to be, I'm sure. I thought it was still something that we would be able to communicate and work through. But there was no phone call or heads up. I found out through the actual media that she filed for divorce. I mean, that was a shocker. Oh, here's another interesting tidbit. The Hollywood Reporter says, you write that Britney fired the entire household staff once after finding you with an ounce of the devil's lettuce, the weed. And some of them continued to work for you, became part of your extended family. K-Fed says, people that were around us in the beginning were like family to me. That situation you just mentioned put me in an awkward position right off the bat. In his book, he also details an intervention that was held for Britney shortly before she shaved her head. Remember that moment? The Hollywood Reporter says, right before the infamous hair shaving moment went down, with the umbrella photos that everyone remembers, you detail an emergency intervention held at the Beverly Hills Hotel for Britney. This was organized by her father and mother, Jamie and Lynn Spears. They both were later painted by the Free Britney movement as having bad motives. What was your own sense of their motives? Quote, I think it was clear to everybody at that time that the situation was just wild. Looking back at it now, being a father myself and knowing how I feel about my family, I honestly feel bad for them because they've been so vilified in all of this. Nobody's perfect, obviously, but I feel that they were trying to do right by their daughter. I mean, that to me is clear as day if you really look at it and take it at face value. Oh, man. The Hollywood Reporter says, in the most disturbing passages, you detail moments that she's with your sons as they're getting older. You described a marked favoritism shown for one son over the other son. You describe her behavior around them as Joan Crawford on crack, which is a line that will echo in my brain for the rest of eternity. You allege other scary and erratic behavior toward them. What was going on? Why were things spinning so out of control? K-Fed responds, all of it has been terrifying, and it's a lot to handle as a parent. Navigating all those things was very difficult. But honestly, I couldn't tell you because it wasn't happening over at my house. So I don't know exactly what all was going on. I know that there were a lot of different concerns, and I tried to manage all of it without it becoming just this huge ordeal. This whole time, all I've really tried to do is make sure my sons are able to have a good, solid bond with their mother. You know her more intimately and for many years now than most people on the planet. What do you think is going on? He says, I think that if anybody's paying attention, that they can kind of see for themselves. All I really want is for her to be happy and healthy, and I want her to be around for our kids. My kids want her to be around for a long time. So I've sounded the alarm. It's become a situation that I need people to start supporting my sons and their mother. You told the New York Times that you feel like something bad is coming. What could we do to prevent that? Because she is pretty much a universally beloved icon. That's it, he says. That's what's a difficult part of this whole situation is, right? Is that my sons are stuck dealing with a situation that nobody knows how to navigate. Are they happy? You paint a lot of ugly pictures of their childhood and growing up. I'm wondering what their lives are like now. He says, my sons have great memories with their mom. I'm not trying to paint this horrible, horrible, horrible picture. They care about her very much. We all do. We want what's best for everybody, and I want her around for my kids. And he gets asked, did you read her memoir, which they're making a movie out of? And do you feel like it was stilted or an unrealistic portrayal of her own life? Yeah. I've read her memoir, he says. I don't think that things are exactly perfect, but that's her perspective. I would love to hear from her sons directly. Maybe one day. They did briefly speak out a couple of years ago in some interview with some foreign news outlet. I would love to hear from them if they want to talk. Maybe they don't. I'm still processing this all. It's a lot. And I want to know when K-Fed first started to tell his boys everything about their mom and what happened. The drinking while pregnant, the snorting while breastfeeding, etc. When did he first begin to share that with them? So much to talk about and consider. And for all of the latest Britney and more, make sure that you read my website every day, throughout the day. P to the E to the R to the E to the Z to the H to the I to the L to the T to the O to the N.com, myname.com. Your support that way would be so meaningful. It's free. It's informative. It's fun. You know what else is fun? Me making videos for you, personalized videos for a loved one, for yourself, whatever the occasion. I have thousands of glowing reviews. Check them all out and book a cameo from me on the Cameo website at cameo.com/myname. P to the E to the R to the E to the Z to the H to the I to the L to the T to the O to the N. Also, I sell merch. You would look fabulous in one of my hoodies or t-shirts or hats. I've also got coffee mugs, I've got necklaces, I've got yoga mats, I've got pickleball paddles. Check it all out at buypopstuff.com. That's buypopstuff.com. And if you like my podcast, a brand new exclusive episode just came out minutes ago, only on our Patreon. Get an exclusive podcast a week if you sign up at patreon.com/myname. P to the E to the R to the E to the Z to the H to the I to the L to the T to the O to the N. If you watched until the end, thank you. You are a VIP member of my fam. Watching until the end is the most meaningful way to support your favorite creators. Hit that like button, share this video, and say family in the comment section. Family. Because that is important. It's so important. And I hope that Britney can have a positive relationship with her sons, her ex, her mother, her father, her sister, her nieces, her brother. She's closest to him. Hopefully that continues. Hopefully he's a positive influence. Say family in the comments section. Thoughts on all that we've learned. This video has been a lot. I think this covers all of the newsiest bits And my other videos have covered everything else that came out earlier in the week. Family in the comments section, lots to digest, think about, and share. See you in the comments. Family, thank you for watching.